Stephen Moffat, the executive producer of Doctor Who and co-creator of the new Sherlock Holmes series, and by the playwright and Doctor Who fan, Mark Ravenhill. Stephen, what is it about Holmes that 123 years on still gets us?
I mean, he's honestly the single best fictional character ever created. It's a marvel. I think the one thing that got me, and I think still gets people to this day, he's got the one explainable superpower that's out there. When he deduces things, when he looks at someone, he looks at Dr. Watson and deduces he's been in Afghanistan or Iraq, he actually goes to the trouble to explain it. Now, Superman never tells you how he flies. The Doctor, trust me, never tells you how that TARDIS is bigger on the inside. I've tried to find out. Yeah, he won't say a word. But Sherlock Holmes tells you how the trick is done. Yeah. And when that works, and it works beautifully in the stories, and we've tried to duplicate that element of it, it's so exciting.
I think we all agree that is the really exciting bit of Sherlock Holmes. But what about bringing the character up to date? Nicotine patches instead of smoking, texting and so on. Does that work for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I just watched the preview of the show tonight and it's absolutely so exciting and so witty. And I think one of the things about Sherlock Holmes, he does explain what he does, but also there's an elusive quality about him. We never quite get to know him. He is a mystery. And I think that's what's so fascinating about the Watson-Holmes relationship. Often in movies and in TV, the buddy relationship is you know everything about your buddy. They're easier to know than the women around you, so you retreat to your buddy. But actually, Holmes and Watson's never going to quite figure out who Holmes is. So there is an element of mystery about him as well, as there is with the Doctor.
Yeah, because there's some similarities, at least, with the Doctor. They're sort of better than us. They deduce things. They need to have a sidekick to explain things in plot terms.
But they're also sort of opposites. I always think of the Doctor, oddly enough, strange enough thing to say, but as more human. I was thinking he's
more
he
wants to be, doesn't he? Although he's a Time Lord.
He's like an angel who aspires to be human, whereas Sherlock Holmes is a human being who aspires to be a god. So he's rejecting the very things that the Doctor embraces. But they sort of meet in the middle, because neither succeeds in their aspirations.
But they're both very English, and they both really draw on this tradition of the kind of Edwardian amateur scientist. And in this programme of Stephen's, Sherlock keeps on saying, I'm not an amateur, but they draw on that same Edwardian tradition. And they're both the people who say the most in the room, which I think makes them very different from a lot of American heroes. The John Wayne character or the Arnold Schwarzenegger character is the person who says the least in the room, whereas the Doctor and Sherlock Holmes are firing out brilliant words all the time.
How far is this a buddy movie? I mean, it is about the relationship between these two men.
Do you know, I think the Sherlock Holmes stories have always been about the friendship. I mean, the surface level is the detection, but what you fall in love with is these two impossible opposites who adore each other. It's a very male friendship in that they never sit down and ever talk about it. And there's only one instance in the entire canon of the Sherlock Holmes stories where Sherlock Holmes admits he likes Dr. Watson. One occasion he thinks Dr. Watson's about to die. That's it. A totally male friendship. You only say anything nice if someone's dead in front of you.
Where does the gay bit come in? I mean, are you playing with it? Are you teasing the audience?
Do you know what? It doesn't really. Even in that scene, what we're doing there is kind of dismissing it. Who knows who Sherlock Holmes fancies? I don't think he fancies anyone except himself.
So that's part of the mystery that Mark was talking about.
I mean, I think on one level it's not gay at all, and that scene brilliantly dismisses that. And yet, as I say, it does play with this thing of normally the male-male relationship is you're with somebody more comfortable and more safe than females who are strange and mysterious to straight men. And yet Dr. Watson finds himself with this kind of elusive, changeable, mysterious person. I mean, in a lot of fiction is the female character, so there is something about the male-female relationship alongside the buddy thing which makes it much more complex than most buddy-buddy relationships.
Is it true that both characters appeal to a gay audience particularly? Doctor Who's got quite a big gay following, you can see it on the internet, and so does Sherlock Holmes.
Doctor Who certainly, for some reason, which I've never quite fathomed, you know, me included, get young gay men as they're growing up really tie into that Doctor Who story. And I think as gay men we partly identify with the Doctor. He's this flamboyant bohemian character, and we partly identify with the companion as well, who's been rescued from a dull life and whisked away by this bohemian gay character. But I think Sherlock Holmes, I think, as far as I'm aware, maybe Stephen knows different, has less of a gay following.
I don't actually know. I don't even know if it's true in either case. It's whether it's not. It's just there's an awful lot of people who watch it. Therefore, there's an awful lot of.
But the big picture thought, though, is that both characters are extraordinary in the sense that they are one of the few characters in literature or on TV that can relate to anybody. They can quite credibly meet a dustman or a
Yes.
duchess. And that's very useful for
certainly,
Conan
yes.
Doyle or for you trying to...
Because they can go into anyone's life and do anything. They can go any place and they can be the exceptional person they are with that person.
So
yes.
as a writer, that's great fun. Because
It's,
you can do
it's good to have
anything.
both, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Do you agree that that is the genius of Conan Doyle, actually, to create this one of these very few characters that can do that?
Yeah, and it's amazing that there is something elusive and that we'll never quite understand, and that's great about the Sherlock Holmes character, that every actor can reinvent him and that he can appear in all sorts of different guises. He can be in a comedy version of Sherlock Holmes, he can be in an up-to-date version of Sherlock Holmes, as Stephen's done, and yet there is something essentially Sherlock Holmes about him that we recognise even though we can't identify. And that's the same with the Doctor. There are certain characters who've got this mystery about them, but they can keep on reinventing themselves, completely change, and yet at core there's something mythic and heroic about them.
Great stuff. Thanks both very much.